2, 1.
Hi Bio. This is going to be video 8 pedigrees. Pretty short video. There actually isn't a ton for you guys to write down. Most of the stuff that we're going to do with this is practice in class. So maybe think first about where have you heard the word pedigree before? Most of you, it's probably a breed of dog food. And it's named that way because of the way that purebred dogs are bred, okay? We can actually set up a chart sort of like this to show the pedigree of a purebred dog, to show the lineage and how genes and traits have been passed down over time. So there's actually, you can do pedigrees like this for your golden retriever or for your husky, okay? And we use them for humans too. We use them normally to track disease in families. So I will show you guys, you're going to do a little mini project later on where you are going to actually kind of look at how a disease tracks through a family, who's passed away from it, how old they were when they passed away, and how it was passed down from grandparents to parents to the kids. So right here, what I need you guys to do is I need you to draw this pedigree, and you need to color in these 2 squares, and then you also need to write this key over here. And so you might want to go ahead and pause me and do that really quickly. Now, hopefully you've written down that whole pedigree, and let me explain this to you. Every time you guys see a circle, that's a mommy. And every time you see a square, okay, a circle means a female, sorry, and a square means a male. It doesn't always have to be a mommy or a daddy. And when you see a line in between them, that means that they created offspring together, okay? Doesn't mean they have to be married. It just means that they made babies together, okay? So straight line right here, okay, these 2 people had kids together, and the straight line connects them to the next generation. And so these are their kids. So this mom and dad right here had 2 kids. They had 1 girl and they had 1 boy. Now, you don't want to ever connect brothers and sisters with a straight line like this, okay? I always think of it like mommies and daddies, they kissed and made babies, okay? Whereas brothers and sisters, you want to connect them with a bracket like this. This shows a sibling relationship. And then this line shows parents connected to siblings. Parents connected to offspring, sorry. So you guys can see here, we've got 1, 2, 3 generations. So these are like the grandparents, the parents, and then the grandkids. So mommy and daddy up here, they're both heterozygous. So that means that they've got an uppercase and they're hiding a lowercase. They're hiding a recessive trait. So both of them, because they're not colored in, they're showing normal. Their phenotype is normal. They're not showing the disorder, okay? Down here, you guys can see we have 2 males that are colored in. When an individual is completely colored in, it means that they're showing that trait or that disorder. For us, for this one, it might be some kind of cystic fibrosis is one that is a recessive trait that you've got to inherit both recessives to display it. Now in this one, they're males. That doesn't necessarily mean it's sex-linked. It's just how these ones turned out. Now sometimes, you guys, if you remember, what do we call a dominant that's hiding that recessive? Another word for that is a carrier. Okay, so sometimes when I'm doing one of these, you guys, I'll actually color one of these halfway in to show a carrier. It doesn't mean they're halfway sick. It just means they're carrying half of the trait to pass on to their offspring. So this son right here, his parents each had a recessive copy of this gene, and he got them. So he ended up sick with whatever the disorder is, or he ended up displaying whatever that trait is. For our examples, we're almost always going to use genetic disease. So down here, mom and dad, they had this 1 girl and they had this 1 boy. And this girl married another guy who's heterozygous. So they're both carriers. So in some pictures, those might be colored halfway in. And then they had 2 twin girls. And then they had 1 boy. And that 1 boy ended up afflicted because the parents were both carriers for whatever this disorder is. Now this guy over here, her brother, he married a lady who we know that she's at least got 1 of the dominant traits. We're not sure what her other one is without further genetic testing. And then their child got 1 dominant and 1 recessive. So this baby got 1 recessive from dad and 1 dominant from mom. Mom could be an A with a little a or 2 big A's. We're not sure without further genetic testing. So let me tell you guys what you need to know in a pedigree. You got to know what circles and squares mean. You got to know what a relationship that creates offspring. So the mom and dad right here. You got to be able to connect to the next generation. So you got to be able to show brackets to show siblings. Okay. If these people had a 3rd baby, we could add another bracket over here and add another girl or a boy. And you guys need to be able to shade in and show when someone has a trait. All right, here is another one, you guys. It's showing you the genotypes right inside. I just want to show you another example. This is another one that is a homozygous recessive trait. So you can see everybody that's colored in, notice they've got the 2 uppercase. All right, so this is definitely a homozygous recessive trait. Maybe it's a sickness, maybe it's not. And we are showing 2 sides of a family. So we've got grandparents, we've got mom's parents up here, and then here's the dad, and here's his parents, and these are all the siblings. Okay, so these would be like the aunts and uncles, and these are all the grandkids and the cousins. And you can see in here how, for example, these 2 parents right in the middle, they're heterozygous. So they could either pass down 2 uppercase A's, an upper and a lower, or 2 lowercase A's. So you can see how one of their children ended up with that homozygous recessive trait. Maybe it's a disorder, maybe it's not. All right, and just another thing, you guys, if you could go ahead and write this down about autosomal recessive traits, because they're really specific. Dominant traits, it's really easy to see. Everybody who gets an uppercase shows that trait. So when you have a disease that's autosomal dominant, autosomal means it's on everything but your sex cells. It could be on anything through pair 1 through 22, but it's not going to be on that 23rd pair, that X and Y. Autosomal recessive traits, they're much more rare. They can skip a generation, so they could show up in one, like the grandparents skip the parents and then show up in the grandkids. You don't see it as often in the pedigree. If it's a dominant trait, everybody who inherits the dominant is going to show it. You can see it in males and females. And here's some examples, you guys. We've got cystic fibrosis, sickle cell anemia, PKU, and Tay-Sachs. These are all, if you don't know what PKU or Tay-Sachs are, we're going to talk about those in our little project here. But just so you know, the recessive traits in a pedigree, we usually see them less. The dominant ones, you see them in every generation. You see them much more often. The dominant trait, you guys know, always wins out over the recessive trait. But for a recessive trait, you'll end up seeing them sometimes skip generations. Like these 2 could be like heterozygous, and then they pass down 2 little ones to this parent, okay? And then these 2 parents could have been heterozygous, and they pass down 2 little ones to this kid down here, okay? So you've got 1, 2, 3 generations right here, all right? And you guys, that is it for video 8, all about pedigrees. Thank you very much.